Okay, 7:30. All right. Well, I can see everybody's names and some who aren't on video. I can see faces and I can see some names. Phil, yeah, he's there on the call. Okay. And Stephen, are you on video or are you just on phone?
I'm on audio. I don't think my video doesn't seem to want to work.
Oh,
It
I'm
keeps
sorry.
spinning.
That's okay. Not to worry. But we're going to go ahead and start then. And I'll just, for the benefit of official roll calling, just give me a yes, okay? Jerry Lee. So Jerry Lee, we're on tape and I can't hear you. We're recording,
Yes.
so go ahead.
Yes.
Oh, okay, Maria
Yes.
and Phil,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
and Stephen.
Yes.
Okay, great. We're all on tape. Okay. Let's see. We'll just go to, we're going to go to approval of agenda, although I'd like to add a new business item. So before we go there, if nobody else has anything to change on the agenda before you vote, I would like to add a new business item about the Garrett Park phone directory hard copy. Would that be okay with all of you if we add that as a new item under new business? And it won't be very long.
Sure.
Okay.
I'm there.
All right. One more person to say okay on that?
Okay.
Okay, great. So with all that, are there any other changes to the agenda? And if not, can we get a unanimous approval by chance? Just thumbs up for those I see. Well, I guess I got to go through this. Sorry, it's on tape. Jerry Lee, give us a
Yes.
whatever you like. Yes, and
Yes.
Mario.
Uh,
Okay, Phil.
Yes.
Is that okay? Dan.
Yes.
Yes.
Dan, you're on tape. You're on recording. So yeah.
Yes.
Thanks, Stephen.
Yeah. Yes. I jumped the gun.
Okay, thank you. So, okay, that's fine. So we have an approved agenda with that one item change to put under new business. It's the Garrett Park phone directory. Okay, thank you. Shall we go to approval of minutes? Are there any changes on the minutes? Okay, so we're going to go, if I can just go all in favor, just say aye, and then I'm going to say anybody with a nay. So all in favor? Just
Aye.
aye. Is there any, thank you. Is there anybody who doesn't approve the minutes? Okay, crickets, it's quiet. Okay, so unanimously approved minutes. Thank you. Okay, and for the tape recording, it is 7:33. Presentation by residents. Is there anybody on the call who would like to make a presentation, anything specific to candidate nominations or that such? Nobody from the Citizens Association wants to say anything?
Hi, Kaki. This
Hi,
is Steve
Steve.
Welker from the Citizens Association. I'm the secretary.
Okay.
The CA is prepared to host the nominations meeting at March 24th via Zoom. We already have the invite ready to go, but we haven't sent it out yet.
Okay, what time?
We're thinking 6:30.
Okay, right, and it'll be virtual Zoom, and you're getting
Correct.
ready to send that invite out.
Yeah, we can send it tonight as soon as
Okay.
you guys are okay with that.
All right, and I don't think I need to add anything unless you want to, Andrea. I mean, if we have an uncontested, we'll see what happens, right?
Nope, just thank you to the CA for doing this, as always.
Yes.
It's nice
thank
to
you.
have it sort of closer to what the normal procedures are. So appreciate that.
Happy to help.
Yeah, thanks from me too. The document was pretty thorough, talking about all the procedures. So I think, Andrew, you put that together.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
we'll get into that.
We'll get to that one. Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you, Steve. And
Thanks.
now 7:35. Let's go to action items. Would you like to start, Andrea?
Sure. Let me just note the time here.
7:35.
This is where the clerk/manager part gets tricky.
Yes.
Okay.
right.
So starting with the budget, just to reiterate from our last meeting from the introduction, that the main purpose of this mid-year budget adjustment was really to reallocate the carryover and to adjust for line items where we're either overspent or where we overestimated revenue or where we're likely to overspend. So trying to deal with those items, not really taking a wholesale look at everything again, trying to do kind of a budget adjustment light was what we talked about last week. So I think what I'll do to keep this efficient is just point out the changes from last month. These are highlighted in yellow on the budget document. The first thing that you'll notice on the revenue page is that there's more carryover than we talked about last month. This is the final carryover. This was an error in the monthly reports that they were correct until December. So in other words, they're correct July, August, September, October, November, and then in December, something was copied incorrectly and we caught it again. So the actual carryover here is $400,308. So that's the first highlighted item. The second item is real property taxes, item 2.1.1, and also local income taxes, which is item 2.2 or line 2.2. Both of these have been adjusted to reflect the actuals. So it's an increase from the budget. So it's more revenue than we were anticipating. Again, we could have tried to do some calculation to figure out what this revenue is going to end up being, but this is a conservative approach to make sure that we're not overestimating our revenue for these line items. They've been very unpredictable and really unpredictable for the last 18 months when it comes to income taxes in there as well. The next item that was adjusted is town hall rents, line 5.2.1. This was simply zeroed out. On the last version, there was a negative balance here. We thought it made more sense to have this just be a $0 balance and have the return deposit be reflected as an expense on the operations page rather than negative revenue. The next item that is any different at all is line 5.3.4, which is gifts to the sanitation crew. And this is just a different total amount than it was last month. I just had someone call in. I'm going to mute. I don't think this is Stephen Hazakowski, so I'm going to mute this person. Okay. The next item that changed is from reserves, line 6.0. And if you look at the February monthly report, this number here will make a lot more sense, but this is the win case reserve line item getting pulled over and the gifts to sanitation crew line item getting pulled over, reflected in the revenues getting pulled from the reserves. Are there any questions from, or Mayor Kaki, do you want to add anything before I take questions from council?
I think you got it.
Okay, and council, do you have any questions on revenues before I go on to operations? Okay. On the operations page, the first changed item would be line 11.3, elected and appointed officials. I added 6,000 because I did not include funds for the election service provider. This line also includes MML conference expenses, so it's possible that we won't even need this additional 6,000, but I wanted to be, again, just careful in case we went with our normal number of folks that are attending MML in person. They are having an option for in-person and virtual, so probably won't be the case, but that way we'll have enough funding in that line if you all do decide to go in person, or if some of you decide to go in person. On operations, the next item that changed would be line 16.4. Again, this is for sanitation workers. This is the expense portion of it, the check that was actually written to the sanitation workers. And because we had additional carryover, the next highlighted line that you'd see is 20.1.1. And that's just reflecting additional funds that are transferred to capital because of the increase in carryover. Any questions on the operations page? Or Kaki, did you want to add anything?
So, good job.
Questions from council? No. Okay, on the capital page, so here's what the additional carryover was allocated to. There's 70,000 that will now go to town hall, line 27.2. And that is again to help kind of build that savings account for future construction that may happen there. And an additional, an adjustment to line 28.1, adding some additional funds there. This is for utilities. This would be to move the pools in the Penn Place parking lot, begin to build up that, again, kind of savings account for when we're ready to do that project. There's also an additional 5,000 to town hall planning, line 32.1. And the remainder of the carryover that needed to be allocated went to sidewalk planning, which is line 32.3. And the last change then is that there was previously some funding that was being pulled from contingency, and now it is no change to contingency from the adopted budget. And that is it on capital. Kaki, do you have anything to add?
I do not.
Okay. And council, do you have any questions for capital or anything really on the mid-year?
Andrea, I just have one question. I know there was the residents in town that were having trouble, with some of that flooding, and that we had committed a couple meetings ago. And I know Kaki was working on that. Is that, I wasn't sure where that money, potentially might come from or what that was, but did that, and I don't even need the details. My only question is is that a thing that would need to be potentially reflected in here? And is this the moment to do that? I'd be fine with a yes or no, or you guys got it. I just wanted to mention it.
It's the town maintenance staff ended up handling it. So there's no, are you talking about at the Kenilworth address for the resident that spoke?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, the town maintenance staff worked on that project, and I believe completed it today. And the materials that they may have used would already be absorbed in terms of normal
Great.
business. Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
It was
Thank
more labor than any materials, so
Hmm,
very thankful that they did it.
That's great. So it's done. So Eileen is not in school today. That's good.
That is great
Maybe-
news. Thanks.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
hope they're happy. Good. Thank you.
I'll pass that along.
You're welcome. Yeah, they seem happy. The homeowners. Yeah, I thought you were going to go, Dan, with just in general about stormwater management projects, and we did put in another 50,000 to that line item, so you can see that we're continuing to probably have to build that up because we have a couple of others we really have to get to as well as the book of one. Anyway, good. Okay, are you ready to go? You're done, Andrew, with the
Yep.
brief? Okay. Anybody question on the table? Anybody want to make a motion? To adopt?
Adopt? Sure, I'll make a motion to adopt. Yes.
Okay,
Second
and
that.
okay. So Mario is making the motion to adopt the ordinance 2021-2. You want to finish that off on you have the agenda in front of you? We're on recording, so I just like to make sure we're
Understood.
specific.
Yeah, so motion to adopt ordinance 2021-2 fiscal year 21 mid-year budget adjustment.
Great. And there was a second I heard, Jerry Lee.
That was from me, Jerry Lee.
Okay. All in favor? Just everybody say yay, and then I'll ask if there's a nay.
Yeah.
So all in favor?
Aye.
Yay.
Yay.
Okay. Is there any no's? Okay, crickets again. So it was unanimously passed. Thank you. Thank you, Andrea, for getting that done.
Thanks for the yellow highlights that answer a lot of my questions. It was easy to track. So.
Sure, you bet.
All right. Next on the action item part of the agenda is adoption of the charter amendment resolution. Do you want to go through anything on that? Andrea,
Sure.
are we?
Yep, there's nothing
Okay.
that has changed since the approved introduced version. So I don't know, I can just quickly give the overview again that this is a charter amendment that for our purposes will allow for vote by mail. It's the same as last year. It removes the specific year. That's the only change. That if you're looking at the document, that's the in brackets and highlighted in yellow. This would be used if and only if there's a state of emergency declared by the governor, the council
Can't hear you.
authorization to implement emergency election procedures. And those procedures are adopted through an ordinance that council would have to also adopt. And that ordinance has an attachment that's an election plan. So this just gives council the authorization to implement emergency election procedures if there's a state of emergency declared by the governor. And we're able to adopt this charter amendment this way on this timeline because of the governor's executive order that was issued last year that is still in effect. And this is per the advice and guidance of our town attorney. I've always work with him on things like this, and he also works with other municipalities. So this is really his specialty is municipal law. So that is all I have for this one, and I'll take any questions unless Kaki, you have anything you want to add.
No, I do not.
Andrea, I had one question. Did the town receive any official comments from any residents about the postings that you put out in the GPML and at the post office?
I received questions, but I didn't receive, if people had something they wanted shared, they would do that in this meeting. I think that would be the most appropriate way. Is that what you're asking though?
Well, I just wanted to know if any comments were sent to the town office that maybe we would not have received a copy of, that's all.
I am not sure when people send me comments in general, when they share those with you or not. I did have a question that I responded to, and this same resident asked the same question last year, and I attached the email that I also sent last year and referred the resident to the governor's executive order that gives us the authority to do this, because it was a question on whether we have the authority to do this. The answer is yes, we do. Again, per the advice of our attorney, and also the other municipalities, all did this last year as well, without a specific year in there. So.
Thanks.
Surely.
So this would go into the charter permanently as just a blanket if there's an emergency that election could go into an emergency mode?
That if the governor has declared a state of emergency, the council has the authorization to implement emergency election procedures that the council would adopt through
Ordinance.
adopting an ordinance. Yeah, through ordinance.
Right. But it doesn't just happen. The mayor has to make also a declaration as well. So it's, if there's a
so there
state
would
of
be-
emergency, the mayor makes a declaration, we sign that, we send it into the state, which is what we've done last year, and we'll do it again this year. With an accompanying ordinance that states how we do it. And, if there's the plan that we have, we also send as well. So nothing gets done automatically. It still has a couple steps, but this just gives us the efficiency and flexibility so we don't have to keep amending a charter provision just because of the date.
Right, and if the emergency goes away, this is all null and void, so it's exactly.
Right.
Right.
That's all and the ordinance takes care of that.
Okay, so it's only good for this emergency. It's not for just any emergency in the future. Like if we had a tornado, we wouldn't have this. There would have to be a new process for that.
No,
Yeah. Right.
no, it's
Yeah.
if there's a state of emergency in general.
Yeah.
In general, then. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so 5 years from now, if this could come up again, it wouldn't have to be a charter amendment then. It would just have to be an ordinance vote, which is somewhat of a backstop. I guess it's still uneasy with
Yeah.
needing it in there in general.
Wait.
Because this time it was very specific to election changes for something that hasn't really happened for 100 years, a pandemic like this. So So
Well, let's
just-
hope that we
just
don't
a
have
thought.
another kind of state of emergency like nuclear threat or, alien bombs or something. Let's just hope that doesn't happen either.
Well, we're a nuclear
I don't
free
mean to
zone,
be
so,
facetious.
yeah.
Yeah, by the way, somebody has taped over the free word
Yeah.
on the sign coming up
a
the
park
hill.
lover.
We
Yeah.
got, yeah,
Well,
we got
at
to fix
least
that
this-
because now it looks like we're a nuclear zone.
Yeah. At least the
Okay.
sign's still there. It was taken entirely a couple years ago. So,
Oh, it's been taken a few times over the history of the town. Yes, you're right, Stephen. Okay, without any other questions, let's put the question on the table. Anybody want to make a motion? This is for adoption.
So I'll make a motion for the adoption, excuse me, for the Charter Amendment Resolution 2021-1 for the town elections.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Mario. Okay. Again, we'll just go all in favor. If there's aye or yes, and then I'll follow up with a nay. So all in favor? Just
Aye.
voice your ayes. Okay, and
aye.
thank you. And anybody against? Anybody abstaining? Okay, so that's a unanimous vote. Okay, thank you. Okay. Now, next item, adoption of ordinance 2021-3 for the town elections. It is 7:51. Andrew, I'm just making a note of time. You want to say anything to this, Andrew?
Sure.
Can I just have,
Who's this?
This-
Oh, Phil? Yeah, go ahead.
I got a
Phil. What do
question
you?
about the last one.
Wait a minute.
So,
Well, we already adopted it, so what?
no, it's very simple. It's very simple.
Okay.
Where should we go or how do we sign it? Because apparently all of us in the council need to sign this. So what's the procedure for us putting
Sure.
our John Hancock on this?
Yep. Last year we did DocuSign and that was fine. The state was okay with that. So I will make sure that that's okay to do again. And if it is, I think that would be the best thing to do.
I agree. Okay, thanks.
Yep. You bet.
All right. Thanks, Phil. Okay, Andrea, do you want to speak to the ordinance
Sure.
before
So
adoption?
this is the ordinance that is associated with the resolution that we just passed. So because there's a state of emergency, because our charter now allows to have council to adopt an ordinance that allows for an emergency plan for the town election, that's what this ordinance is. So the only thing that when it was introduced, I think there was a typo that Phil caught that changed village to town, but there's nothing else that is different. This looks exactly as it does with the approved introduced version, except that I removed one clause, and I'm just remembering this. I removed a clause because it said that this ordinance can be passed in the same meeting that it's introduced, but we don't need that because we're doing them a month apart. So that's just procedural stuff. And I discussed that with our attorney before I did that. So there's nothing else that's changed here from last time. The thing that may be more interesting to you or that you may have some questions about would be the attachment that's the town election plan. Before I move on to that though, Kaki, do you have anything else you want to add about the ordinance?
I do not.
Okay, and council, do you have any questions on the ordinance before I go into the election plan? No, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, for the election plan, again, I highlighted in yellow where any changes were made from last month. This was discussed with Chief Election Judge Louise Somorowski. Louise, I hope I'm saying your last name right. There are a few small changes, but nothing really substantive. The first one is just that we have a date and doing a candidate nominations via online public meeting, as Steve Walker already talked about. And then in the summary timeline, we decided to keep the ballots due when they're postmarked by, and this was in some discussions with our attorney. This is helpful for us to have an election date still, and that will be the postmarked by date, even though the post offices are not always consistent about when things are postmarked. It's still helpful for us to have this as a date for our procedures and also to give residents a good idea of when they really need to mail their ballots by. So we're keeping the postmark by date. And then for when the ballots are due and when the vote count will happen, this will be on a similar timeline to last year. And these are different dates than what you saw last month. So there's some breathing room here. We tried to give it a little more breathing room there for when ballots are mailed and when they're counted. Under the nominations section of this town election plan, one thing that Louise and Elizabeth and I discussed was that because of COVID, it really doesn't make sense to have petitions as part of the election plan this year. So removing the whole idea about petitions. I think last year we discouraged it, but this year we're just saying no petitions would be accepted. So the main thing would be that all nominations, including self-nominations, need to occur at that online public meeting. And then the other highlighted change here under nominations is just the date when the financial disclosure form is needs to be sent by. The other change there under vote by mail is just, again, that date, having that be May 11th for when the ballots need to be received by. On the second page at the top there, this is just clarifying language to help try to communicate that it's one ballot per envelope. And then under number 9 there on the second page towards the top third of the page, just that adding a sentence there about provisional ballots. We didn't have anything in there before, and that was probably an oversight last year. So I think Louise pointed that out, that we needed to really have something in there about provisional ballots. So we included that language. And then under the next section, under vote count, ballot handling and scanning procedures, again, changing that date. So the vote count is May 12th, and then cleaning up the language in that first number there, just to clarify that the election service provider is picking up the ballots daily from their local post office, which in this case is in New Jersey. Under number 5, the second ballot there, it's also just changing that to have the ballot needs to be received by May 11th. So pretty basic changes, nothing really substantive compared to what we talked about last time. Kaki, you have a question or anything you want to add?
Yeah, sure. They're really questions and really for the record. So I have a quick question about the provisional ballot, and if that is also that request for a provisional ballot. Are you going to say that what is the due date for that if it's a request for a ballot, not mailing a provisional ballot?
They have to request that ballot by May 11th at 5 p.m. And probably how this would work, Louise, I see that you're on, and feel free to unmute yourself, or I can unmute you if I don't see you unmute in just a minute. But my guess is that the way that this would work is that we would probably not get them right at 5 p.m., but possibly would. And we would probably meet with them and give them a provisional ballot and accept them at that time. And then we would need to, last year we did a Zoom meeting with the election service provider, and there were a couple ballots that needed to be adjudicated. And I think that's when the provisional ballots were also counted. Louise, I'm going to hand it over to you though, because I don't want to.
Yeah, the main thing with the provisional ballot is it stays right here in Garrett Park. It doesn't go to New Jersey or anything. So it's usually done on a yellow or a different color, orange sheet. And it's for people that might have moved in. So, you know, in the timing involved, or have turned 18, you know, it's the few people, and again, it's usually less than a handful. But there are unique situations that have come up because of dates and stuff, but it stays right here with us. It does not involve the vendor at all.
I guess I'm just surprised that, you know, somebody at the last moment might be requesting the need for a provisional ballot, but then you're sort of, if they're doing it right at the last minute, they have to sort of vote right then and there.
They would have to have a reason for having it, and then they write their reason for, you know, why it's a provisional ballot on the envelope, and then we decide whether it's to be counted or not. It isn't like, oh, you know, I forgot my ballot, or it's you know, there's specific instances. So somebody who requests, because our actual date of our election is May 3rd. So this again gives a little bit of leeway as long as the final vote is not in. so we can make it as clean, you know, on the 12th as we can. So if there's somebody that, you know, had just some, you know, they moved into town 2 days before, you know, it lets us be as clean as we can with that date that we're actually doing the vote.
Okay.
If that's okay with you.
Okay,
But
Louise.
it's not involved sending it anywhere. It's literally just kept here.
Okay. Second question, and I know there's the answer on number 6 at the top of the second page about what would be on the outer envelope, but just for the record, the only thing we're asking voters to do is to put their signature on the outer envelope.
Correct.
No other personally identifiable information. Okay.
Correct. And the other thing we're going to encourage people is if there's households where you have 5 people voting, you know, they have parents and 3 grown children's there, that they would each return their ballot in the envelope, that each would have a unique envelope to return it in with the postage already paid, because some households wanted to combine them and send them all in together, you know, so we're trying to make it as slick. So you just sign your own ballot, put it in its own envelope and send it on the way.
It would be good, I think, if we make sure that that's out there to say, because I don't think we had it written in this plan that, you know, specifically for those households with multiple voters, eligible voters, they should not be combining their ballots in one envelope, right? We should say something about that specifically, I think.
We were
maybe we can just, pardon me?
We didn't consider this would be a big thing last time, so we were flexible, and but this is the way it works best, and you already have the postage paid.
Oh, sure.
And then we know who signed exactly which ballot. So again,
yeah, I'm not disputing that. I'm just for the clarity of for residents of those homeowners where there's multiple eligible voters in one household at that one address, that they definitely do not combine their ballots into one envelope. That's all I'm trying to say, is that we might want to emphasize that. Do you think
we, yeah, okay. Do
you think, go ahead.
If it's not clear, you know, to clear that sentence, Andrea, to even more clearly, because I totally agree with you, Kathy, too. So
yeah, I just hate to have you run into that again.
Yeah.
And there are households in town with multiple eligible voters in the same address. So could we add that? Could we add that as a step, or just elaborate a little more on number 6 or something? Or number 5? Number 5, Andrea, maybe?
Yeah, do you have any suggested language?
You know, homeowners with multiple eligible voters. Homeowners, is that the way? Household. A household with multiple eligible voters must still use individual outer envelopes for each ballot. They cannot be combined. And Louise, if you want to work that language better, that's I'm fine with it. You have a way to suggest that better?
Yeah, and I think, again, what your first entrance sentence already says, most, you know, that they have their legal name and address, sign the information. And then each signed ballot should be returned its individual pre-postage paid envelope. And then I would put a hyphen, not combined with other household member in a common envelope.
Voters, great. Yeah, that little dash, not combined, works. That makes it more clear.
Without giving them ideas, hopefully, that they haven't thought of already.
Yeah.
But you're right, we're trying to avoid the potholes.
Last year, wasn't there a checkbox, like a checklist on the envelope? Or am I mixing it up with a federal election? I thought it had like directions, make sure you did 1, 2, 3.
No, I don't.
I might be mixing, no.
I think this is self-explanatory. And as I said, especially if they're pre-postage paid, because then each and again, if we use number 6 is what each ballot should have is a full name, a signed address, and its own envelope.
And not to combine ballots in one envelope, if all from the same household.
Right.
So it's that little clause
So can I get clarity on where we're adding, and is it replacing number 5, or are we adding on to number 5?
No, we're doing,
I think we're adding on to 6.
Adding on to 6, okay.
Are we adding on to 6, Louise?
ballots are returned in that. Yeah. I'm
Not to
looking-
combine out ballots in one envelope if all in one household, something.
No, it just, each signed ballot should be returned in its own pre-postage paid envelope, not combined with other,
With others in the same household,
not combined
Right.
with others.
or
from
just
same-
not combined with others. In case anybody,
Not combined.
next door neighbor says, let me stick mine in there too.
Right.
Okay.
Because then we're saying it
Is
in
that good
two
enough?
places. You're also saying it in 5 and you're clarifying it in 6 when you talk about each ballot. So I think if we say it twice there,
Okay.
hopefully that little bit
Right, well,
of repeat, I think. will
sure,
help.
that nuance is important,
Yes.
you know. So,
Perhaps
are you good with that language, Andrea? Do you
Yep.
want to repeat that?
Yep.
Do you want us to repeat it? We got it.
So number 6,
Terry Lee?
I was just going to
Oh, go ahead, Andrea.
I'm fine, I was just
simplify that with a statement of 1 ballot per envelope. Sorry.
Well, what they did was they used a different kind of envelope. They used like a manila folder. and
Oh,
put like
right. And then
5,
put all of the envelopes.
put them in
inside.
together, and then they had to stop and put extra postage on it. And then you can't see, you have to open the other envelope to find each individual ballot inside.
Right, understood. Okay.
So we're just encourage them to do, the easy way, just put it right in its own and mail them, at the same time if you want to, but individual envelopes.
Not combined with others.
Well, I think it will be more straightforward because the real problem last time was the birth date. And the people felt they got
yeah.
more privacy by putting them together and put them in an outer envelope. So I think if there's no birth dates on it and we make it pretty, if it's streamlined and it's, hopefully, and it says it in
Yeah.
2 places here, I think we'll be good.
Okay, did you want to read the sentence, Andrea, so everybody's clear on it? And then I think, I think we've discussed all the changes you've made, right?
right, yep.
So then we'll be able to move to the question, but if you want to just read that.
Sure.
we'll-
So number 6 will now be, voters shall write their full legal name on the issued outer return envelope and sign the affirmation. Any identifying marks will only be on the outer return envelopes that are read and discarded before the ballots are counted. Each signed ballot should be returned in its own pre-postage paid envelope, not combined with others.
Good enough, Louise?
Yeah, I think it sounds good.
Okay. Anybody else want to have a question about that language, or are you all okay with that? Sounds like everybody is. Okay.
Language. I
We
do
ready
have
to
a
move to the-
separate question.
Oh, by all means, go ahead.
Okay, well, thanks,
Go
Kathy.
ahead,
You
Terry.
answered some of the questions I had. I just had one question about the nominating process. Last year, I know we didn't do petitions, but we did allow nominations via email to the town office. And I'm just a little concerned that it's very narrow to require the nominations on a single night, given that people, things happen. And so it would be nice if we could just have at least one other option, even if we downplay it and discourage it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what we were trying to balance was just trying to encourage people to do it through the virtual meeting, just for sort of transparency and so that everybody kind of knows what's going on. But obviously it's your call. Yes, Steve, go ahead, sorry.
If I may, we were CA was thinking of offering the option for the citizens to reach out to us so we could facilitate in-person nominating for those who wouldn't be able to make the meeting in person. So maybe that's the fix.
And then how do you, okay, and so we don't do seconds on, in this forum, do we? I don't think we did it last year, did we? Where somebody nominates and then there's a second. We don't do that, right? So if there's somebody who isn't attending this particular meeting, Steve, I'm directing the question to you, then, and later on, there's a citizen who wants to get on the ballot, they can contact you, the Citizens Association, and then you need to get it posted out there with everything else, right? And the
No,
timing.
no, sorry. What we meant
Oh.
was we're going to put out the announcement for the 6:30 meeting. If you
Okay.
cannot attend the 6:30, get it to us ahead of time. Your window of
Oh, okay.
opportunity to nominate is 6:30 to 7 o'clock at the CA meeting, but you know, everyone's on notice. If you can't go, make sure that, you know, someone is there to represent your interests by putting forward the nomination.
Okay, and so it would be spoken at that virtual meeting.
Correct.
Okay, by somebody. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's, I think I'm with you, Geraldine, in this one. I feel like, in the past, people have stepped in. Historically, people, maybe they were on the fence and they weren't there for that day, and they had opportunity to consider as a cutoff date. And I know this is different times this year, but I'm just wondering if we're gonna kind of just cutting this off too soon. If people are still on the fence, if it's a hard date on the 24th, they might, I feel like there should be like, a backup date where typically someone would, so it's not the person themselves that would send you an email, and it'd be like, I'm emailing you, Stephen, because I'm nominating Jerry Lee. Obviously, Jerry Lee would have to, I think you still have to get that, they see the person nominating that other, the candidate or something like, it's something
I
like,
see.
it's,
So you're allowed to self-nominate, but if you're nominating somebody else, you still have to get their okay.
because it happened last year when Hans nominated, who was the nice guy that ran also last year, and he moved out of town,
Andrew.
unfortunately.
Oh, Andrew Fiddler.
Right, so Hans nominated Andrew on Andrew's behalf, obviously with Andrew's blessing.
Is
So
that
that's how
last year?
it worked last year. Yeah.
No, I didn't remember if it was last
Yeah.
year that Andrew was.
I'm surprised I remember that, because I can barely remember what I had for coffee for breakfast this morning. But yeah, that I remember.
So
So I
are
don't
you
know if
also suggesting that we have an extension for anybody who wants to sort of have a write-in candidate afterwards? I mean, because you never know, right? That day or night, evening, as Stephen said, 6:30, you said, Stephen, or
6:30.
6:30. And, after there's, some public disclosure of who's going to run, somebody else might want to step in. And so do you want to have this another extended short period? Because we do also have April 1st for the financial disclosure forms. So there's only 30 days, that's September, June, November. So March has 31 days. So, you guess you get 7 days before you have to get into the office.
I don't want to make this complicated for the CA at all by any stretch. I just want to make sure that we weren't leaving opportunity for citizens to step in, should they choose to, maybe necessarily. And I agree, sometimes people do sit on the sidelines to see, hey, if we have a full slate, maybe someone doesn't want to run. But then again, if we don't have a full slate, or somebody wants to run anyway.
No, I'm with you. I thought the same thing. I thought, well, maybe, it would seem more fair just to allow, somebody to petition after that evening, if they were so inclined, either for themselves or for somebody else, as long as that other person got the okay, gave the okay.
Yeah, of course. I don't know. Just put it out there. I don't know if I have the right answer. I just feel like in the past it was a little bit of a window. It wasn't just a hard night of you're in or you're not in.
Yeah, I don't remember that, but that's up to you, council members. Right, Andrew, I think, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm with Mario. I don't want to make the Citizens Association more difficult either, because you guys do such a great service for the town. Is it really that extra effort, or was there any particular other reason, Steve, in terms of that the Citizens Association was promoting the one night method?
So we're not promoting the one night method.
Oh, okay, sorry.
And certainly we share your concerns about I guess, equity in the situation, certainly for those who are not able to attend, that limited window is definitely a concern. We are thinking about ways to get around that, like I expressed, heavily promoting, emailing
The
us ahead of
advance
time.
notice.
But should
Yeah, I
the
like that.
council deem more, a larger window, we certainly support that, and it's no problem at all to implement that.
Can I ask a question that I actually don't remember from 2 years ago? And that is, with the petitions, are those typically received by the Citizens Association or by the town office?
I thought they were the town office because the citizens, and sorry if I'm speaking out of turn, Stephen, jump in, but you all host the actual candidate nomination night, but anybody later on who petitions or, that there is a form they get usually, but they can just go out and get, I think it's 10 signatures and they can just use anything, but that is submitted, I believe, into the town because at some point we make this public posting of all the candidates.
That's right. We don't have anything to do with the petition.
Okay, I'm just thinking to stay consistent with that then, if there's any kind of ability to email self-nominations or nominations, that should go to the town office then, to be consistent with how petitions were done in the past.
And that is
After the Citizens Association forum.
Right, but it would have to be a hard cutoff. I mean, I
Yeah,
don't
so
think
that's
past April 1st.
no,
I still need
right.
financial forms by April 1st, so it wouldn't be, it couldn't be too much later than the 24th.
No, I would, well, am I mute? No, I would just make it, so, I mean, I'm sorry if I created a firestorm. I would say either,
No.
if there's a window where everyone can get, regardless between now and the 24th,
Yeah,
or we leave it open, the 24th is like the traditional day, and then you have until the 31st, which is a full week later, to submit your nomination. Make it before April 1st, Andrea, so that that's it. It's on the 31st. It's a full week, and then
I just want to say this, that Mario, I don't mean to interrupt, but
No,
just for efficiency, I think you're right, but I don't think we should do it the day before, like the 31st, because April 1 is to get the forms, because there may be due diligence on the town's part or somebody to say, we got to follow up to make sure that the proposed candidate, if it's somebody else nominating somebody else, that we follow up and just say, because we'll need something in writing to say that the candidate being petitioned for needs to submit something. Now that can be a whole nother part of this paperwork, but I don't want to get into that. But
Okay.
I think we should cut it off at the 30th. That way we have at least a day to verify that the candidates who are, especially not the self nominating, but for somebody else, there's something in writing that says, yes, I agree to be on.
we'd have to get a hold of the candidate and get the financial disclosure on possibly within one day.
How about if we go with just 2 extra days? I was just looking for a small release valve. I don't think it really has to be more than 2 days. We could go with the 26th. I
Right.
think.
That's fine. That's a Friday. Just call that. That's
Okay.
fine.
Oh, good. You know the day. Okay.
Let's just do
Okay.
that. Guys.
Yeah. Now the plan is kind of flexible, right? Andrea, we can make this change, and it's packaged as an addendum
Right.
to the ordinance, right?
Right. The last clause in here basically says that if Louise and I can implement such other measures as are consistent with this emergency plan necessary to assure a safe election and protect the public health, safety, and welfare, or may hire a certified election service provider to carry out these functions.
Okay. So when we vote tonight, when the council votes tonight, we don't necessarily have to have this extra date or few days worked out here. If you want to add,
I'm fine adding it in because I have
whatever you want.
last year's plan pulled up, so we could just use
Okay.
that exact same
Okay.
language. I'll just say it now for the record.
Okay.
So this would
All
be,
right.
on March 26th, 2021, 11:59 p.m. Residents may nominate one another or themselves by sending an email to Town Manager Andrea Fox and Town Assistant Elizabeth Henley at managerandrea@garrettparkmd.gov and admin Elizabeth@garrettparkmd.gov, or mailing the nomination to, and then it lists the address for the town office.
If you want the nominations in by Friday, though, you can't mail it.
That's true.
So they would have to be received. And also, again, you have to clarify the whole idea of that there's no petition. That what you just described now, you can just put your name. I like that. I mean, I think a 48-hour time period. The whole idea of the financial thing too is also that's their way of saying that they want to participate and be a candidate. Because if somebody nominates you and you don't really want to be a candidate, you don't put in your financial thing. You know what I mean? I mean that's their,
I don't know.
I mean,
those have been flexible in the past years. Let me say.
Has anyone really ever been nominated that? I mean, maybe they have. I'm aware of. Has been ever been
or
nominated?
change their mind or whatever, but I mean, it really the whole idea of the financial form, though, that's their official entrance of that candidate into the election too. So, so if we don't use petitions, or we just say you could nominate, how would the person, again, we don't. Hopefully, they would have talked to someone and they would have, shared that they were going to nominate them and stuff. But it's another stopgap or a control thing for the person to know whether they really want to be a candidate.
Okay, I mean, I'm trying to push the meeting along because now I see we're basically we're behind. So I think we've kind of talked it out. You guys, Louise and Andrea, you can kind of flesh out that language, knowing that I think we're kind of looking at 48 hours roughly, but
I think that looks good. I like the 48 hours, and it gives that little leeway, but still gives enough time to get the forms in. But you cannot mail it. It would have to be either email or have a form available that they can hand deliver to you or something. Have a post office.
But you could just say email to. All right, I'd like to move on this unless council still wants to discuss more.
We can move on.
Okay, great. Would somebody like to ask the question? Which is to make a motion to adopt.
I'll make a motion to adopt.
Okay, go ahead, Phil.
So this is Phil. I'm making a motion to adopt ordinance 2021-3, Town of Garrett Park Town Election 2021, declaration of a state of emergency and ordinance to activate an emergency plan for town election.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it. This is Jerry Lee.
Okay, Jerry Lee, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Anybody against? Thank you. Anybody against? Anybody abstaining? Okay, unanimously passed. Thank you. Okay, we've got on the clock now. It's 8:23. Looks like Phil, you're up on new business. I don't know how brief we can make these, but let's give it a try, okay?
Okay. Okay, so what I'd like.
Yeah, we can hear Jean, so.
I'm sorry about that.
Okay, so go ahead.
Definitely. Okay, so we're talking about the security cameras possibility, and I had put something a while ago, actually on February 18th, trying to get a sense of the town on what people thought about installation of security cameras in various locations and or additional lighting. And I received a number of responses, and that totaled 22 different people. As far as people being in favor of cameras, there were 6 yes, 14 no's, and 2 no comments, I'll call it, for a total of 22. And the main reasons given for not wanting the cameras were tied between concerns about racial profiling and concerns about privacy or the government being a bit too nosy. In addition, people made comments about lighting, and I received 4 people in favor, 3 people said no, and 15 people had no comment, again for 22. And there was no particularly big thing other than they thought night sky and light pollution of the night sky was probably considered, I would say, was of the ones comments, those are the ones that I saw. So at this point, I would suggest to the council that we don't do anything unless something really comes up that would require this. And in addition to this, we talked about it during the meeting with Officer Stroman, and she had suggested if for some reason we decide we wanted to install cameras, that she could come out and help us with picking locations. But at this time, I'm recommending that we don't consider installing cameras unless the council for some reason has some opinion otherwise. And that would be it for me on that. Any questions?
Okay. No.
Does anybody
All right.
any questions?
Doesn't look like it. Thank you, Phil.
Okay. You are welcome.
Hey, Phil, do you have would you mind submitting those numbers into the town so we can put them with the record? You know, not necessarily for this town meeting, but you've cited them, but we don't have anything in writing. Can you put something together so we have it if we have to, you know, refer back sometime in the future?
I can. I guess the one question I'm going to ask you on that is, I was thinking of deleting. I mean, I know who the people were who made all the comments, and granted, it was on a forum, but I was thinking of deleting the names, unless you think I should just leave the names there, in which case I'll just send you the whole thing.
No, we don't want the names. But was it on the town forum or on the neighbors list, or both?
Both.
Okay. No, we don't want names. You wouldn't want to do that. But so whatever the questions were that were asked, and then what the results were of those questions, that would be great to have. Okay.
I certainly can.
All right. Thank you. All right. Next up is this Garrett Park phone directory, and it's very brief. I've been approached by a few people to ask if the town could go ahead and get a new phone directory, paper phone directory. I think the last hard copy publication was 2015. I think that's the one I've got 2004, 2010, and 2015. So I think the last one was 15. And the question was, you know, well, who would do this? And I didn't get an answer from the folks. So obviously, I think, you know, I would be advocating that the town would pay for it. You know, I think we've done that in the past. And there's usually ads that are collected with that as well. You know, there's usually, you know, somebody, I know who's done it way in the past. I don't think that person's available. Actually, there's been a couple people who've done it, and I don't think either one are available. But there was always getting the ads, as well as just, you know, there's coordination on verification, the number and post office box. Anyway, what is your thought? I mean, should we try to do this? Should we try to get, you know, some kind of you know, some volunteers together? Is there somebody on the council who would like to do this?
Are you specifically asking about a hard copy? If you're talking about a hard copy phone book, that I wouldn't support that. It seems like just a super non-contemporary approach to sharing information that everybody knows will change. So if we wanted a phone directory online, that would have my support, but I would struggle to support a printed phone book. I don't think that's actually a thing anymore.
Well, actually, I don't know. I use it, and I keep marking mine up. But I hear you about, you know, the state of affairs, the digital availability. But we have a lot of people in town, older people, who still like that hard copy book.
My
And,
mom just chimed in that she still uses a phone book. She's 83. Look, I'm fine.
did she just chime in? Literally?
She's sitting
Oh.
right here. I'm not trying to be
Yeah.
ageist. I was just saying
I
like
know.
uh
No, I
it
do.
seemed it just I don't know.
Yeah.
So the thing is,
I'll-
Dan, just let me just say it like this too, and I'm advocating for it because I don't think it's a high cost. It's a high labor, and I don't know who would like to be, if there's a council liaison who would like to kind of get some people together that'll work on it. But to find the number, you got to get online or check your cell phone or something, as opposed to just reaching for that phone directory and you quickly look it up. I mean, I'm telling you, we use it all the time.
So I will say,
Unless,
so Kathy,
go
so
ahead.
Dan, I'll say this. I don't remember, Dan, you and I moved to town around the same time. I will tell you that when we first moved to town, now granted, this is, and to your point, digital has taken over since the 15 years since I've been here. But when we first moved here, we lived off that. little
Totally.
thing.
I love that thing.
Yeah, and I think Natalie still uses it, honestly. I think like you, Kathy, she
Yeah.
probably still turns to it. There's something
I
nostalgic
think she was
about it.
coordinating one year, wasn't she,
Yeah,
Mario?
I'm not going to throw. She did. I will not throw her name in the ring because she'll come down here and beat me senseless. But but yeah, you're right. She was part of the coordinating crew of many. Look, if it's self-sustaining and we can fund it because we can have Todd Harris Homes like buy the back cover. Great. Thank you, Todd Harris, if you're listening. And
I think Dennis buys the front inside cover.
that's fine. Good. We get Dennis involved too. So look, if we can be financially supported and we have the volunteers to make it happen, fine. I mean, fine, but
That's fine. I won't rain in that parade. All I would say then is just do both.
yeah. I agree with that.
Absolutely, we do. We always we have to update that portal where all that information is. Once we get somebody who's gone out and canvassed the town for all the updated information.
We'll get Keith.
Is there anybody on the council who'd like to be the liaison for getting this going? And you don't have to do it, but just get people together to get it done.
Might it be a citizens association thing? I'm not trying to delegate. Clearly, I'm not suggesting that I would do it, although maybe I get my mother to volunteer. But I don't know. It's not like the town office is necessarily going to take it on or needs one more thing, but I don't know. But I'm with Mario. I think it's a nice thing. I get it.
Well,
Good
Stephen, I
question.
saw you just sort of lit up here. Do you want to say anything? Steve Welker?
Oh, yeah. We'd be happy to assist. Off the top of my head, I feel like it should be the lead of council and we would, provide bodies or support and everything, but love it
Is
if-
there a liaison on the council then that would like to be that person? All you're doing is just making sure it's getting done. And let us know what the money cost might be once we get to printing. Anybody? Here's your chance.
Okay, if nobody wants to do it, I'll bring it up with the CA and
Thank you.
we'll,
Okay, let us know next meeting, okay?
Yeah.
You think you could let us know by the April meeting?
yes, absolutely, yes.
Okay, I appreciate that very much.
Yeah, no problem.
I don't want to take on other projects. So. All right, that was it. Thank you for that. Let's move on to the town updates. 8:33 right now. I can be really quick. If you haven't noticed, this is on the SRTS punch list items. The crosswalk striping painting was done at the traffic area by Claremont and Montrose, and also at Waverly and Montrose. That's fixed. They look sharp. Thank
They look
goodness.
nice.
They're done. Yeah. The lead walk at John 06. This is the second lead walk. He had two lead walks, front sidewalks going to his front door, his one door and the other door that meet up to the sidewalk. Well, the second one, which is the one that was on the punch list to get done, is been done last Thursday very, very poorly. Absolutely, without question, terrible. And I'm told that they're going to come back and work on it maybe tomorrow. I do have some issues and questions about that I won't fill you in on, but totally unacceptable. I'm not sure it's even acceptable who's doing it because it is not the subcontractor. Moving on, there was an asphalt curb that was put in, it was installed along the entrance, construction entrance. It was really badly done by a subcontractor back when it was done. This too had been put on the punch list to fix. It looks to me like somebody tried to fix it. But again, whatever that effort was or was not, it still is unacceptable. So that's going back to be raised. And the last is the audit. As far as I know, we pretty much got the last documents in. I got to follow up with District 3. Andrea, do you know if we've got any reimbursements back, like F13 or F14 from the state? Okay, we need to follow up with that. But like Andrea said, we did get the stormwater ponding issue fixed over on 11002 Kenilworth. So that's done. And that's all I have right now. So if we can move on, that would be great to the next topic, just to keep us going, unless you have questions. Okay, let's go to the train horn. That would be Dan and Phil.
Yep, simple. Next up is a March 24th Citizens Association run meeting, which is great, where our consultant, the town is engaged, will share the information with the townsfolk through the Citizens Association, and then we'll do a poll to gather some information, and then we'll bring that back and analyze it as a council. But that's the next step.
Okay, did I miss a date on that, Dan? Or is that to be decided?
March 24th.
Is there a date with that? Oh, I think I did miss that. March.
Isn't it the same day CA is already doing the other meeting, or is it
Yes.
meant to be together?
Yep.
No, you're right,
Okay.
Stephen.
Yep, it's tagged on. So those two meetings are together, and the train horn is just the
Okay.
second part of that meeting that
Okay.
the CA decided that would be the most efficient way to do it. I thought that was great. They've been
Great.
super communicative and helpful, so it's really good.
Great. Okay. Let's go on to the next one. Unless Phil, do you want to add anything to that topic?
Nope. I think Dan
Okay.
covered it all.
Okay, great. Jerry Lee, you want to tell us about the latest on Arboretum or Porcupine Woods restoration?
Sure. The town issued an RFP with the scope, including a sketch and the listing of the plantings for Porcupine Woods to restore the area after the outfall project. It closed on February 29th, and a subcommittee of the Arboretum Committee is currently reviewing the bids that the town received and working with Andrea to get questions answered, et cetera. Given that that's still under discussion, I think it's best to not give too much more detail than that. But I think we know enough to know that we'll be able to meet our budget probably and get the work going in the spring or early summer at the very latest. And it will include deer and cicada protection as well as initial maintenance period. Any questions about that before I go?
Are you the selecting official? Yeah, Jerry Lee, are you the selecting official?
Oh, that's a good
Who's
question.
going to be the selecting official?
I'll ask Andrea that question.
Andrea, can Jerry Lee be the selecting official?
Yeah, for the selection committee, there's usually,
I think so.
3 people or something like that. And it would be great if you're available to be one of those.
Okay, sure. I mean, I've been participating in the committee, so I'd be happy to do that.
Perfect.
Great. Okay. And then you just forward the final to Andrea, and we set up the contract and whatever. You mentioned, did you mention cicadas?
Yes, I did. It's a great
So
discussion.
we got the 17-year locust coming in May.
Yes, my daughter was born
Did
in
you hear that?
1984, so I don't forget
Yeah.
the date easily.
We're going to have billions of locusts in May.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Thank
the
you.
committee's
Did you want to
taking
mention
that into
anything else?
consideration, and we'll make sure there's
Okay.
in protection.
They eat the leaves, don't they?
Right, and they can be,
Yeah.
can damage small,
Oh, seedlings. Yeah.
small creatures. Yeah.
Jerry Lee, did you have any update on the Arboretum? I'm trying to push this along.
No,
Sorry
that
if
was
I'm
the
interrupting.
only Arboretum update. The
Okay.
other update is the Strathmore Avenue redevelopment project.
Go for it. Go for it. Okay.
Okay.
Tell
So
us about it.
people know this area, and Kaki reported on it last month, so I'm not going to go over everything in detail again, but just very quickly, the area where St. Angela's Hall, just to the west of Holy Cross Church, has been sold to a developer, and also the Academy of the Holy Cross sold a small portion of their property to the same developer. It's EYA Development and developers, and they are partnering with Brandywine Living. And myself and also George Martin Sr. and Kip Edwards from the Garrett Park White Flint Estates Citizens Association, and also the principal of Garrett Park Elementary School, participated in a briefing by the developers and the Academy of Holy Cross in February. And the bottom line is they have done other developments in the area. So if you want to look them up on the website to kind of see what's similar, I recommend that. I mean, Art and I actually went and walked around one so that we could get a feel for what it was like. It would have 9 single family homes fronting Strathmore Avenue to the west.
You said 9, right?
9, yes.
9
And a
single homes
single
fronting.
Yeah, and then an assisted living center between Holy Cross Church and the 9 single family homes. It would have a total up to 120 properties between the single family
Units.
and the townhome units, right? That would be behind the single family homes. It would also have underground parking to support both the assisted living and the townhome community. They indicate that they would be preserving 4 acres of open space to the west of their property, and that they would ensure that there would be shared use path for bikes and pedestrians out front, although that is already part of a planned state project, that sidewalk. They did also indicate, based on questions that we all asked, of course, we expressed concerns about traffic and pedestrian access to Metro and the schools, and also landscaping out front in terms of how it would mesh with the local community. Some of the responses that they shared were that there is a protected stream and quite sharp topography behind this property. And I did walk the site, and it would be very difficult to put a road access out to Tuckerman from behind this. I talked to a few people. It seems extremely unlikely that we could get a road access out to Strathmore. It might be possible to advocate for another bike path, bike or walking path through that area, but even that might be difficult with the topography. And also the property ownership all the way up to Tuckerman is not entirely clear to me. They also said that they're mitigating the traffic impact with the additional entrances that they're adding, particularly aligning the Stillwater entrance with their main entrance for the single family home and well, the main entrance of the development. So I propose.
No, but that's not true. That's not true. Sorry.
I'm sorry.
You finish and then I'll go back.
I'm just sharing what their response was. I'm not necessarily saying
so
I
there's
agree
a
with
back. Right. So the main entrance actually still comes in to lead up to, it's called the Boulevard, and it runs up. It'll let you get into the Brandywine facility. It'll let you also get into the single family homes as well as the townhomes, and all the way up to the Academy of the Holy Cross. There'll be another entrance, which is across from Stillwater. And that's sort of what I call like the alleyway. It lets you come in to get to townhomes and the single family homes. But, you know, I don't know how much.
School entrance, yes, you're right.
Right. And then there's the third entrance, which is the facility maintenance driveway up to Brandywine, which is between the church and the Brandywine Senior Living Facility. Also, just to make sure everybody heard it, because I heard you say the 120 units for the Brandywine Senior Facility. 120 to 102 units of townhomes, 15% of which are for the missing middle, affordable living, and then that 9. So that total of 111 or 112 on that side. I know I didn't do the math right, but
Thank you.
okay. Anyway, but so you did bring up the access to traffic and to another, egress or entrance, and you don't see it as a possibility, but that's what they said. I mean, right? So
Right
somebody,
there is a protected stream and the sharp topography there that you wouldn't be able to provide a road access out to and also private property there, the Stony Brook access there. So one thing I neglected to add is they did provide new information about the schedule. They have submitted their application for a local map amendment, which and their schedule is that there would be a hearing in the fall, and then they would be at a point of having preliminary plans by summer of 2022. So we have an opportunity to weigh in at a hearing sometime in the fall. They have not yet, the county has not yet posted this on their website, even the application by the developer. So I propose, because we are in that ex parte communication status with the county, they can't communicate with us about it, but we can send a letter to the developer. So I propose that we do that to at least put our concerns that we expressed in the meeting in writing and get ourselves on the record that way. So I'm working on that, and we'll continue to work with Phil on that.
thank you. And Jerry Lee, would you also include George Martin, the head of the land use, because he had ideas too. I don't know if you'd talked with him, but
yes. And both George Martins are involved one way or another.
Yeah, good. No, I mean that would be great, and keeping us apprised of this hearing in the fall, and if you're able to still take the lead even then, if you're council member anyway, that would be great. We'd appreciate that very much.
Yeah, thank you. And if folks want to send me a note offline, I'm happy to engage with citizens who have questions about the presentation.
I got one more question, Jerry Lee. Do you think we should post something on the website about this? I think we posted the letter that was from
Did we post the letter?
We posted the letter from the Sisters of the Holy Cross, I believe, right, that we received. The town received. I think Joanne put that on the website or mailed it out to people through GPML and form. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean,
if we could double check that it's on the form, but we might want to give a little bit more information. And I know we have a few screenshots.
Well, and certainly if we're going to send the letter, we could post our letter alongside the letter from Holy Cross to us, to the town.
Yeah, maybe the sooner the better, though, just to get people being aware of this.
Agreed. I will say, I mean, there are a lot worse developments we could end up with in that location.
Oh,
obviously,
yeah, I saw their
on Strathmore Avenue, but it could certainly be a lot worse.
I saw the models, I did, but I think a big concern is the massing, the front massing, landscaping.
Right. I mean, that's the thing, is that we have an opportunity through the local map amendment. The county does have to go through this hearing process. So we are fortunate to be able to influence it, and we should take every opportunity.
Jerry and Philip, thank you for doing this.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a big lift, and it's so frustrating even just to hear this. And I know just because it's, everything else, it's just that people forget the traffic on Strathmore is just brutal pre-COVID and certainly post-COVID. And you said it, and I know you know shooting a messenger here, Jerry Lee, but I think you mentioned last week, or Phil did, last month, that they did a traffic survey, and of course they did it in the last 12 months, which is not the normal. So it's just unfortunate that we can't even make that. Maybe we can make that pitch to the county to say, look, you need to do this like in October, when school's back in session and people are probably most likely back to work in some capacity in their offices and and everything else.
So could I add to that, Mario?
Of course.
because it was a state, I believe, because it's a state road, and it was Department of Transportation, and well, maybe it was a county. I beg not to be sure about that, but I did talk with Greg Slater, who is the secretary of the State Highway Administration and Maryland Department of Transportation on a call last week or something, and told him about this. And he actually didn't think that there was much that could be done. He's well aware of the potential congestion, and he just said, let's meet separately in a separate meeting off of this discussion line, not our meeting, but the meeting he was having, and get some people together and throw some ideas out, which probably more or less include like traffic calming controls.
Can I toss out a comment?
As opposed to finding other, actual other egresses into, Tuckerman or something. Just something that he thinks could discourage drivers and commuters from using Strathmore. That's all I am.
It doesn't exist.
Understood.
Just to
Kathy,
add
would
to
you
your
mind if
point.
John King made a comment. He's been doing a lot of liaison for the town on various development issues.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, John.
I just wanted to comment.
Yeah, we typically don't, but go ahead.
This particular development is likely to fill a lot of county wants. They want more senior
I
housing.
know.
They want more housing density near Metro. It's going to check boxes. It's going to be,
And they want middle housing.
You want middle housing to
Middle
get there in PDUs. We're not going to stop it. There's a big ravine
No,
back on
we're
Tuckerman
not.
that we're not going to get. Building a bridge across that's going to be way too expensive for cars. We're not going to get that. So keep the asks
No, we're not.
reasonable.
Yeah, I was just looking at the Tuckerman.
Well,
where it
yes, but
connects.
there is one,
Oh, go ahead, Kathy.
right, there's one suggestion. I'm sorry, there was one suggestion was that Stephen
Yeah, I'll follow you. Go ahead.
who's talking?
Yeah, I'll follow you.
There was a suggestion that perhaps we can get the Academy, drop my bug, the Academy of the Holy Cross to at least make their entrance onto, I think it's Cloister Lane, which has the little bridge, because they really no longer front. I don't know if you can hear me. They no longer really front Strathmore. I mean, I don't really know if it's a legitimate kind of, that's not the right word, but realistic to have it as an address for Strathmore. And maybe they ought to see if they can, we can convince them, we can have some kind of a, little neighborhood push to encourage them to create a roadway to the Cloister Lane. I think it's called Cloister Lane. Phil, do you know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about, Khaki. I mean,
Yeah.
right,
Oh, you are. Okay, Mara.
their school backs up almost to the Tuckerman. I mean, that's where the school is. It's 30 or 40 yards from the road. So
Right, and it's
the
Cloister
actual-
Lane.
Yeah, with the little bridges. It's
Cloister.
Yeah, Cloister. Yeah.
It's Cloister, I think it's called. Yeah.
Yes, they back right up to it. I mean, basically their fence is
Yeah.
right there.
So that could help a little bit, because I talked to Greg Slater about, like 3 or 4 schools that we've got going on right there. Anyway, no,
Is
your
the-
point is taken. Well taken, John. Yeah, appreciate it.
Is the
Anybody
idea
else say?
is
Yeah.
the idea to have like an extra, like a cut through from, like if you're coming up Tuckerman to cut across to Strathmore without going to 355, or to understand what the ask is there, or what the suggestion is there?
Yeah, it would be really, and Jerry Lee chime in, or Phil, to me, it's really to try to move some of the traffic off Strathmore from this new development and get them to go over to Tuckerman.
Oh, okay, like a back
if
door.
we
Got
can't,
it. Okay.
if we can't get, if only the Academy would be doing their change up for their entrance, I mean, that may alleviate some, at least, even if they won't open it for for the other community there.
Mhm. Yeah, I guess if it just gets seen as a cut through, if you're coming from, say, the Metro garage to cut across the Strathmore or vice versa, then that's probably
Well, we
going to
can
be
put,
something that I'm
they
not
can,
crazy about.
they
They
can
may
put
not
those
even be-
signs up like they do in Kensington, where it's like, no through, only open to local or no through traffic or whatever it is by
Yep.
such and such hours, stuff like that.
Look, they may not even be a metro at this point based on everything else that's going on. So this is all a big
Oh
cluster.
my God,
Yeah, that seems like a
that's
shakedown.
another good point.
Yeah, but I
Well, I'll
want to
definitely
second.
follow up with you, Kaki. I think that's a great idea to work with the SHA on some of the traffic ideas. And I think we can get more attention to our concerns through something like that.
Yeah, because I don't think the county's going to do anything.
Yeah, I'd be surprised too.
Okay.
And I kind of had a similar thought John King did, to make sure any kind of asks we have are realistic. I'm not sure we're going to be able to stop the train on this one here. This does check all the boxes that they're looking at for Thrive
Oh, yeah.
2050. And just to clarify, missing middle
Yep.
is actually like all of this development really, except for the senior parts, that's missing middle. Well, maybe not the single housing, but missing middle is really the gap between a single family and a mid-rise apartment building. And there's a separate term, I can't even remember what they call it this week, but as far as like the moderate price.
I thought it was the
dwelling
middle,
unit, but-
it was middle multi-point pricing.
Yeah,
price,
that's a separate
something
thing.
like that.
Yeah, so really, like all those townhomes are missing middle, as are all of Stony Brook, as are all of
Oh no,
as
no,
are-
Stephen, they're going to be 1.8 million.
No,
Do
but
you
I'm
think
saying
that's missing middle?
No, I'm saying the term missing middle has nothing to do with the affordability. It has to do with the scaling of it. That it's more than one dwelling on a lot versus
Oh.
a single family. So,
Oh.
but then the affordability issue of them and strategies for those, that's a separate policy. So like the missing middle that's being considered around a lot of the metro stations, it's all hopefully in the eyes of the proposers, it's market based, that people will want to do it. It's not subsidized, moderately priced or anything.
No, it's right. It's not subsidized, but the conversation I had with the other mayors was about the multi-middle point price, something or other. But okay,
Yeah, they're similar. They're just different issues. So
get into that. Yeah.
Okay.
One
Yeah,
last note, the
okay.
developers did indicate that their application timing was before the most recent county changes in the housing requirements.
No, but they did say, Jerry Lee, when I talked with them, that they were going to set aside 15% for more affordable, housing units,
Mhm.
not the 1.8 million.
1.7.
Is it now 1.7? Because they
No,
said
I'm
1.8,
kidding.
and I was like, oh.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
they did say 1.8. They were going
Yeah.
to sell them for 1.8.
So these are the size. These are the size of Symphony Park then.
Yes, right. Yep, you got it. Okay, sorry to go on with that, but thank you, Jerry Lee. What have we got? Phil, do you want to say anything about the stormwater? Anything quick?
Sure.
Time is
Yeah,
8:58. Jesus.
Yep. Okay. So about the stormwater quick. So Chuck and I met with Andrea and Jason to discuss the next steps. And what we've come up with is that we're going to split it into 3 portions. There will be, first is a survey, which needs to be done, a topographical survey of the whole area so we can fully understand what's there, because there seems to be a lot of utilities there, plus some other stuff in the way. So we
You
want
want
to
to
get
say
a better
where the
idea.
there is?
Excuse me?
You want to say where the there is for the record? Say where
Oh.
the there is for the record.
I'm sorry. So basically we're talking about, I'm sorry,
End of,
I've been into this too much, but this is a project for stormwater at the end of Rokeby. And we're talking about
okay.
doing a topographical survey that will run basically from the railroad tracks all the way back up, I think it's behind Heinzen's house. It's going to be the length of the
Okay.
area that we're looking at doing some changes in. And we are looking at splitting it into 3 parts. One is the survey. The second is going to be the changes made along the route of the actual stream itself. And then the third part would be the crossing of the stream with either a bridge or with another pipe, and right now kind of leaning towards the bridge. But we're waiting until we get the information.
When is the
from
survey going to be done? And when
Um,
is that going to get done, Phil?
I was going to just ask Andrea, because Andrea, and when we had talked with about getting it on to Jason's list of stuff to do. And so,
Oh.
do you know, Andrea,
Yeah,
has that happened?
Jason and I he is reaching out to the surveyor to get a range of dates, and starting tomorrow, I will be talking to the property owners / pulling the easements, just to make sure everybody's looped into what'll be happening.
Okay, great. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you, Phil.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you. Stephen, do you have anything on the town hall?
Yeah,
You're gonna have
I'm
a
gonna make super.
presentation at some point, but
Yeah, super quick. I had to postpone
Quick,
it from
yeah.
the last time. I'm gonna do March 18th, 7:30. So I'll be in touch probably with you, Andrea, or with Joanne tomorrow. We'll get the notice out. So we'll go with that then. And I can, if there aren't any questions, I can move on to preservation.
Yeah.
Any questions or?
Head. No, go ahead.
Preservation, just really one thing to note. The committee's been researching historic preservation tax credits, and then a notice was sent out, I think, by Susie and Dan. Just throwing that out there in general. There was a really good presentation the county put together that really explains a lot of likely questions. So it's urged any resident that really has the a residence that would qualify for this. It's really any residence that would require a historic area work permit to do a renovation. We urge to just give that a listen, and the committee's planning to put together a seminar of sorts to review those procedures and those kind of that kind of information, and then do a Q&A session with some residents that have been through this process before. That sounds like it's less bureaucratic and less daunting than it might seem. So they're going to try to use that as a way to make it doable for a lot of residents. That's it.
Sounds great idea. Thank you, Stephen. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. And what time was it on March 18th? You were thinking?
7:30, I
time?
think it's good.
Okay.
Probably take
All
about
right,
an hour.
thank you. Okay. Really?
Yeah, you're right. It'll take longer. So.
Who knows? Yeah. Okay. And Mario, do you have anything on the archive? Any updates?
Yeah, super quick. So Claire McDonald is really focusing her work on some of the old town records that were stored up in the attic of Penn Place. Apparently there were like over 25 boxes up in the attic in Penn Place. So George Miller hauled down all those boxes. So she's going through it. Good old Claire's indexing all those records. And the next step is to determine which should be kept and which should not be kept. So a lot of work there, and good for Claire for diving into all that history. Also, interesting enough, she came across all these great old records from the Garrett Park Players, which was I guess they were musical duo back in the 1950s and 60s. So Claire is digitizing all those great old records, and then she's going to eventually schedule. She's going to put them in a depository, which is I think already online, and then eventually she'll schedule an exhibition, which I think will be really awesome when that's all said and done at some point. So it's a big lift, and good for her and the archives for getting all that done. And that's the quick and easy on that. So done.
That's great. Sounds like fun. Okay. Thank you, Mario. Andrea, do you want to give us an update on the financial reports, your report?
Yep, you bet.
I'm going to note the time. It's 9:03. Go ahead.
The February revenues, operations, and capital budgets are at expected levels, and total revenues and expenses are within projections. There were 2 building permits that were issued since the last meeting. They are both for additions. One is on Montrose and one is on Claremont. There's more details in the report. As far as town office and maintenance highlights, town office has primarily been focused on budget and election, both the mid-year and the upcoming FY22 budget. Now that the charter amendment and the ordinance were passed, we'll start getting dates out to residents and get that posted on the website and in the post office. Our audit should be available soon on the website, hopefully any day now. And lastly, just Jerry Lee already mentioned about the Porcupine Woods RFP, just a heads up that there will be we'll probably always have an RFP or aim to always have an RFP live over the coming months. We have kind of a backlog, so we're addressing that. So the next one up will be tree contractors. So that's all for me.
Okay. All right, great. All right, if there is no other questions, let me hear a voice or not. If it's silent, I'm going to adjourn. Okay, thank you, everybody. The meeting is adjourned. Have a great evening. Hope everybody's getting vaccinated at some point soon. All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night.